On the morning of December 8, 2015, reporters at Wired were finalizing a story that had been brewing for months. Their investigation pointed to a man almost no one in the crypto world had ever heard of. Dr. Craig Wright, a 45-year-old computer scientist living in Sydney. The headlines suggested an extraordinary possibility. They might have found Satoshi Nakamoto. Within hours, Gizmodo published a parallel piece citing leaked documents and emails, allegedly linking Wright to Bitcoin's earliest days. The coincidence was no accident. Both outlets had received overlapping caches of materials from an anonymous source who claimed to have worked with Wright. By nightfall, every major tech publication was chasing the lead. The materials seemed, at first glance, convincing. There were archived blog posts dated back to 2008 and 2009 in which Wright appeared to discuss launching a new digital currency. An email, purportedly from his associate Dave Kleiman, contained early Bitcoin terminology. There were also fragments of PGP keys, digital identifiers once controlled by Satoshi, and references to transactions between Wright's and Kleiman's accounts that supposedly matched early Bitcoin activity. One document even contained a draft of the Bitcoin white paper, attached to a file labeled Bitcoin Draft. For journalists, it looked like the smoking gun that could finally unmask one of tech's greatest mysteries. But within hours of the stories going live, things began to unravel. Members of the Bitcoin developer community examined the evidence and noticed inconsistencies. Some timestamps didn't align with known historical records. Certain blog posts appeared to have been modified years after their stated publication dates. In one, Wright claimed to have been working on Bitcoin the day the white paper was released, yet metadata suggested the post had been edited in 2013. Experienced cryptographers pointed out that the supposed PGP signatures didn't actually verify against Satoshi's known public keys. The more they looked, the more the puzzle pieces refused to fit together neatly. Meanwhile, in Australia, Wright's life turned chaotic. Within hours of the story's release, Australian Federal Police raided his Sydney home and office, not over Bitcoin, but over taxes. His company, De Morgan Limited, had claimed millions in government R&D grants for research into supercomputing and digital currency projects. Investigators suspected the work didn't exist. Central to those claims was the story that he had developed Bitcoin's foundational technology before its release. Reporters later uncovered internal ATO notes showing officials had already questioned that assertion months prior. The timing of the raid made sense. The Satoshi narrative was serving as both shield and sales pitch for a collapsing tax strategy. Wright disappeared from public view, leaving journalists and Bitcoiners with more questions than answers. As the crypto community dissected each line of the Wired and Gizmodo articles, the tone shifted from curiosity to skepticism. Prominent developers like Gavin Andresen, who had corresponded with Satoshi in Bitcoin's early days, urged caution. Andresen privately reviewed parts of the material, but emphasized that only a verifiable cryptographic signature from Satoshi's known keys could settle the matter. Others were harsher. On forums like Reddit and Bitcoin Talk, users accused Wired of falling for an elaborate hoax. One user called it the most sophisticated self-dox in crypto history, suggesting Wright himself might have planted the evidence to gain fame or investment attention. The deeper journalists dug, the messier it got. Some of the leaked documents referenced dealings with Australian tax authorities over R&D credits claimed by Wright's company, De Morgan. There were inconsistencies in claims about his doctoral degrees. One university hinted that a PhD listed on his LinkedIn profile had never been awarded. Even small details, like Wright's self-described achievements in supercomputing, showed discrepancies when compared to official records. Each revelation chipped away at credibility, but the intrigue only grew stronger. Wired faced a wave of criticism. Originally, their article's headline hinted Wright could be either a brilliant hoaxer or the creator of Bitcoin. After the discrepancies emerged, they quietly revised it to emphasize the doubt. Gizmodo likewise published a follow-up, admitting several of their documents might have been forged. But by then, the story had escaped their control. Every major outlet, from The Guardian to The Economist, was chasing Wright. The man himself went silent for months, turning his disappearance into part of the myth. Behind the scenes, the leak trail was complex. The anonymous source who handed over the material claimed to be an insider or former partner seeking exposure. Some later theorized the cache was compiled using internal company data, perhaps triggered by a dispute among Wright's associates. Others guessed it was Wright himself, orchestrating a partial reveal to preempt forthcoming government investigations, or to legitimize his tax positions by claiming Bitcoin holdings worth hundreds of millions. None of these motives were proven, but speculation filled the information vacuum. In retrospect, the 2015 outing worked like a match tossed into dry grass. It reignited the global hunt for Satoshi and attached a living face to the enigma. But unlike previous guesses, from Nick Szabo to Hal Finney, who we have looked at previously on this channel, this candidate leaned into the allegation rather than running from it. By mid-2016, Wright would reappear publicly, flanked by high-profile supporters, and claim to provide cryptographic proof that he was indeed Satoshi Nakamoto. Yet within days, those demonstrations would collapse under scrutiny, deepening the divide between his believers and detractors. For now, December 2015 marked the turning point. Craig Wright had entered the story of Bitcoin not as a coder or investor, but as a mystery headline bursting into real life. Whether he planned the exposure or was blindsided by it would remain disputed. What became certain is that the outing transformed his private ambitions into a global spectacle, one that would dominate his career, his finances, and his reputation for years to come.